Okay, your lives are going to change at the end of this video because I'm going to now show you how to use Model Builder and how to perform this analysis in Model Builder. So I'm going to save my MXD and I'm just going to minimize some of the shapefiles that I have here. The first thing we're going to do is go into Arc Catalog, and now there's a reason why I gave you this output folder. It was important for me to show you how to do these steps external to Model Builder so that you knew how to do them. And now we're going to recreate this entire lab in Model Builder. And because we have grids that have the names that are already named, we want to make sure that we save everything in our model into the output folder, because ArcGIS won't let us give names, rename things the same. So we're going to recreate the entire steps that we just did in Model Builder, but it's going to go much faster because you know what to do. So the first thing we're going to do is in Arc Catalog, we're going to right click, and we can put it in the output folder. Right click on Output and select New Toolbox. And then we are going to right click on the toolbox and select New Model. So we're going to create a new model. Very important. We're going to go to the model properties. Let's name and label this priority. Name and label. ArcGIS is sensitive to spaces and everything in the label name, so just keep it simple. And we are going to say landslide hazard analysis in the Laguna. Give it a description for Geog 481. April 10, 2020. Okay. That's great. Very basic, but the most important thing about model properties, there's two very important things. But in the general tab, please make sure you select store relative path names. You have to make sure you check this. It's just like setting relative path names in your MXD. So store relative path names. The next thing we're going to do is go to our environment. So remember our good old environments from when we converted our Orange County land use to a raster? Well, the beautiful thing about Model Builder is that you can set your environments for the entire model and you don't have to go back and change them. So the environments that we want to check are processing extent, raster analysis, and workspace. When you check these three environments, you then click values and it allows you to set these things. So the first thing we're going to set is our workspace. We want to set our workspace to the output folder. So set it to your raster priority output folder. Same with the Scratch workspace. I'm just going to copy and paste that. So everything that I do in this model is going to be put into that output folder. The processing extent we want set to lag DEM. And the raster analysis cell size we want set to lag DEM. So we've set our environment settings. We can keep everything else the same. We've set our environment settings, OK, and apply, and OK. And now our model has its properties set and we are ready to go. So remember our first step. We're going to take our Laguna Beach DEM and drag it into the model. There it is, lag DEM. Then we're going to go into our toolbox and go to Spatial Analyst Tools, Spatial Analyst Tools, Raster Calculator, and drag in the Raster Calculator. You're going to double click on Raster Calculator and make sure you select the one that has the recycle symbol on it when you populate your map algebra expression, because that way it works. So select lag DEM is greater than or equal to 200, and the output raster is going to go into our output folder. Make sure it goes there. I don't know why I just did that. It should have set it to the output folder. And we are going to save it as LFGT200, just like we did before. So we've got our raster calculator and our expression. Now notice it puts things with wildcards, these percent signs and quotes. And we've got our wildcards, but just keep it the way that it does this. Lag DEM is greater than or equal to 200 and apply and OK. And there we have our first step in the model. We can change the names of things in Model Builder so it's a little bit more user-friendly to somebody. But for now, let's just get through the model. The next thing we did is we go to our surface tools and we're going to drag the slope tool in. We're going to double click the slope tool, and the input raster again is the lag DEM. And the output raster we're going to call SLP PCT, like we did in the first step. See how things are going much faster because we've already done this. And again, very important that we select percent rise. We're going to calculate slope percent from the Laguna Beach DEM, click apply and OK, and we can organize things so that it flows a little bit. Second step in the model. The next thing we're going to do is bring in our Orange County land use, because we're going to take our land use file and we want to convert this to a raster based on the LU code. So we're going to go to Conversion Tools, to Raster, Polygon to Raster. And you double click that, and the input feature is the Orange County Land Use UTM. Remember how important this is to select the value field as LU code. And we are going to call this LUOC because that's what we did previously. And we'll keep everything else the same. It knows to pick we've already set our environments, so we don't have to go back and do that. We're all set. So we click apply and OK. And now we have a land use raster. Well, next thing we want to do is have Raster Calculator calculate, and I'm organizing my model a little bit. I want to bring Raster Calculator back in under Spatial Analyst Tools, Map Algebra, Raster Calculator, and I'm going to have my, I can start calculating values on my grid. So the first one, actually we'll move it over here. Now we have our LFGT2. We want to have our slope percent. We're going to do slope percent. Whoops. Raster Calculator, I apologize. Raster Calculator. Slope percent greater than or equal to 30. And our output raster is SLPGT30. LFGT200. Slope percent, I'm just organizing things. So now we have our slope greater than 30, and we want to query our LUOC grid. So we have Raster Calculator, and we want to query our LUOC grid. So LUOC is equal to 11. Whoops. LUOC is equal to 11, and this is going to be res. This is our residential grid. So hopefully these steps all ring a bell. And in my model, so you can see it, I'm just going to zoom out a little bit so that you can see the whole model. And so now we have our binary grids. We've set it all up. We have our Laguna Beach DEM. We query it for an elevation greater than 200. We take slope, we compute slope percent. We query that for slope greater than 30. We take our vector shape file, we convert it to a polygon, for the polygon to a raster, and now we have residential. And now what we want to do is add in Raster Calculator another time. So we have Raster Calculator, and this time we're going to take LFGT200 plus slope greater than 30 plus res, and this is going to be our hazard _1. That's our first hazard. But remember, but wait, there's more. right? Remember, what if we want to know combinations and permutations of where are the 2's, where are the 1's? We need another raster calculator. Well, we'll clean it up after. I'm going to bring in raster calculator again. And this time I'm going to take my LF greater than 200, put it in parentheses, plus SLP greater than 30. Be careful where you put your parentheses. I'm going to put that in parentheses, whoops, and multiply that by 10, end parentheses, plus parentheses, res times 100, end parentheses. So I'm taking my elevation greater than 200, my 1's, and I'm adding them to my slope greater than 30, but I'm making those 10's and I'm making these 100, the residential 100s. And my output raster is going to be hazard underscore 2. Oh my gosh, right? Now we have our results, hazard 1, hazard 2, all built in Model Builder. Beautiful. Your life, like I said, is going to be changed after this. Okay. What do we do next? Well, we validate the model. So you have to first validate the entire model by checking this black checkbox, and it's going to check everything. And then you click Run, and it's going to run the model. Success. It shows that the model is run by having shaded colors on the resulting files. And the cool thing about Model Builder, it gives you a successful run. Here it successfully ran. I'm going to close it. If I want to see my results, I click on, whoops, I have to use my pointer. I'm going to click on hazard and right click on it and say add to display. And it's going to add it to the display. And I can click on hazard 2 and do add to display. Everything else is temporary. So this is the other cool thing about Model Builder. So I'm going to go into my output folder, and it has all of these interim grids in my output folder, but all I really care about is the hazard 1 and hazard 2. If I go to Model here on the pull down menu and select delete intermediate data, it's going to delete all the intermediate data. It doesn't show that it's deleted, but if you go to your output folder, right click on it and select refresh, now the only things that are left are hazard 1 and hazard 2, and you have just your results. So that's Model Builder in a nutshell. And what I'd like you to do is repeat this analysis on your own with different criteria, and I'll explain that further in the lecture and in the Word document about what to turn in. Welcome to Raster. Welcome to Map Algebra, and welcome to Model Builder. We're going to have so much more fun with this. Stay tuned.